Hill. For Ken Boone at 9 o'clock, a fistful of pesetas. Tonight's episode has a distinctly Spanish flavour. Viewpoint 87 at 10:30 presents a vivid picture of the changing way of life in Britain. Finally at midnight, we're live from Willibiskis for a blues special. We close with Ulster News Time at 25 minutes past midnight. Talking of the news, it's now 5:45 and time for the early evening reports. First from ITN in London with 6 tonight in 15 minutes' time.
The news at 5:45 with Alistair Stewart.
Good evening. Enniskillen today began burying its dead from the Poppy Day massacre. Funerals were held for 3 of the 11 victims of Sunday's IRA bomb outrage. The first was for Marie Wilson, the 20-year-old nurse who held her father's hand as she lay dying in the rubble. She was the youngest victim of the blast. At the service, the minister told mourners Marie had glowed with life. The others buried today were Ted Armstrong, a 52-year-old RUC reservist, and Sam Galt, a retired policeman who was 49.
The town of Enniskillen was in mourning today for the victims of Remembrance Sunday. At the War Memorial, they were removing the last traces of the murderous bomb attack, launched without warning by the Provisional IRA. The streets were still and eerily silent. Every shop closed as the town paid respect to the victims. Brief handwritten notices on every shopfront, bearing witness to the outrage felt by every part of this community. The RUC and the Army were out in force this morning, checking the routes to be taken by the funeral processions. Sniffer dogs were used to check for explosives. The first service took place in the Methodist Church in the centre of the town. It was for the bomb's youngest victim. The 20-year-old Marie Wilson was a nurse at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast. Her father was trapped in the rubble with her. Her last words to him, "Daddy, I love you very much." All the schools in the town were closed to allow the pupils to attend. The service was broadcast to the people of the town, packed in the streets outside.
I saw the spirit of Barry in the casualty department of the Erne Hospital. I saw the spirit of Mary Wilson in the wave of compassion and practical caring that crossed over the religious divide as a shattered community came close together in love and succour for the bereaved and the injured. Though we sorrow today, make no mistake about it, though we sorrow today, we do not sorrow as people without hope. If I didn't believe that, I would have run away before I came here at 12 noon today. Neither life nor death, nor principalities nor powers, nor famine or nakedness, peril or sword, height or depth, and may I add, nor bomb outrage, nothing shall separate us from the love of God.
The second memorial service was for the RUC reservist, Edward Armstrong. As well as family, friends and relatives, the service was attended by the Chief Constable of the RUC and the local MP, Ken McGuinness.
To this wounded congregation and other fellowships similarly afflicted in this torn town, I want to say that there is forgiveness, that there is healing, that there is restoration. Ted Armstrong was a friendly, typical Fermanagh man, a fisherman, always ready to give his catch away, a very decent, unassuming, uncomplicated Christian man.
Edward Armstrong was buried with full police honours. David Chater, ITN in Enniskillen.
At today's third funeral for the retired policeman Sam Galt, Canon John McCarthy told mourners Enniskillen's Day of Remembrance had become a day of shame and cowardice. He said the terrorists had sunk to a new low. Mr. Galt's coffin was carried shoulder high out of St. Macartan's Cathedral. Among those paying tribute was the IUC's Chief Constable, Sir John Herman. After the service, hundreds followed the funeral cortege as it passed through Enniskillen to the town's war memorial and within sight of the debris of Sunday's carnage. Sinn Féin and SDLP councillors in Enniskillen stood in silence for 1 minute at a special meeting today in respect for those who died in the bombing. The meeting was boycotted by unionist members. Afterwards, the local leader of Sinn Féin, the IRA's political wing, offered his sympathies to the bereaved and injured.
Republicans seek peace as earnestly and as desperately as any section of the Irish people. No one section of our people can claim a monopoly of suffering. Republicans are no strangers to suffering. Therefore, we can fully appreciate the trauma and anguish being experienced by so many people in this town today.